Good evening. Thank you all for being here. Call the meeting to order. I have, who do I have online? I have Todd, and that's it.
Somebody else just joined. Not sure.
That's still me, because I have to run in a minute, but
I thought it was you. I'll say, say something
in,
like that.
in the room I have Manny and Joe and myself, and Myrna is here from Imagineers. So, first issue on the agenda tonight, we have minutes from the November 2022 meeting here. If I hear no objections, the minutes will be passed as written. Hearing none, so moved. Property managers report. Myrna, what do we got going on?
Some fresh new information for both properties. So we're at the Heights and the Royal. Sorry. We will be reopening the waiting list only on the 60% tier.
Okay.
Meaning one person can make between 58,950 up to 70,740, and two persons can make 67,360 up to 80,000. Only the 60% tier.
That's the only tier that
We're going to reopen
list because we do not have sufficient people on that waiting list.
As you know, we have a few apartments coming available, and it's been,
Yeah, it's hard to get people at that.
yes.
Just so everybody understands, the struggle at that 60% level is that the rent structure is close to what you might be able to get, not necessarily here in Darien, but within Fairfield County at retail prices. So people are, it's hard to get people into that particular tier.
So I'm sending the email tomorrow morning, so hopefully we can get it open by Friday.
Okay.
And I do have a gentleman here who I want to introduce to the property. He works for a home in Darien. His name is Chris Jones, and he is here. He's just gonna give us a little update on what he has for the properties. Go ahead, Chris.
Sure. Well,
just
thank
sorry,
you.
Myrna, just not to interrupt you guys real quick. Myrna, would you mind just emailing me what you guys are looking for
I will.
tomorrow? All right, and I
60%,
will reach
all-
out, because
All
we have
60%.
a long wait list.
It's all 60%.
I got you. Yeah, we got 60, 80s, we got them all. So,
Perfect.
All right.
yeah, we can
We'll get the
help with that.
information to you, Todd.
Okay, Chris, go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you, and thank you for letting me join in. I'll be very, very brief, just to introduce myself and the organization. At Home Darien's been around for over 12 years, and our mission is to provide services so that the Darien seniors can live independently at home for as long as possible. Most of our services are focused on transportation, so about 70% of our services are bringing seniors to appointments all throughout Stanford, Darien, New Canaan, and Norwalk. We don't charge for our services. We're privately funded primarily, so it's kind of a hidden gem. We support currently a number of people from the Royal. In fact, we just kind of very softly tested bringing some seniors to events at night. We just did this last night. During our annual meeting, Liz Pellegrini, who we had sit in, one of the residents at the Royal, we had her sit in on a panel, and she said, you drive from 9 to 4, it would be great if you could drive at night. So we thought that would be good. Last night we took 5 different people to the movie night at the library. So those types of services, but it's not just specific to medical appointments. We bring people to hair appointments, nails, grocery shopping, and we also have a large number of volunteers who come in, and they will sit with seniors and provide them company. They will shop for the seniors. They will do different types of services at home and help. So if there's organization that needs to happen, so So I just wanted to come and kind of introduce our organization. Right now we're only working with probably 100, 120 seniors of the 4,000 plus in town. When you turn 60, you automatically become a member. I'm sorry?
You've helped me.
Oh, awesome. Well, there we go. We have a testimonial. So it's really a complimentary service to a lot of the other great things that are done in town. So I appreciate Myrna, we met last week, and we're looking to do some more things for the seniors at both of these properties. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You could call and get me as a driver. I'm currently in the process of being qualified as a
Oh,
driver.
nice.
Oh, are you drunk?
Yes, yes, we've been on the phone, we've never met in person.
Okay.
So that's for our manager's report.
Okay, that's it? Old business, where are we with the residence directory?
We have completed our residence directory, so we will be delivering the residence directory over at the Royal to each resident
Good,
who chose to participate.
good. The business center, what's the current status?
We have ordered their computers, so we're just waiting for them to be
We're just
delivered.
waiting on delivery.
Mhm.
And the board meeting schedule, we have not finalized the schedule yet. As we had talked about at a previous meeting, we are going to start alternating in-person meetings and meetings of, let me rephrase that. We will have meetings where we will encourage public participation, and we will have other meetings where we will not have public participation. It will just be for the board members to discuss the issues that are pending for the board, but we won't take input from the public. Once we get that schedule ironed out, we will let everybody know what we're up to and what we're doing. New business, anybody got anything new, something I'm not aware of, anything I don't know about? Residents,
No, that's-
what do we got? Anything from the residents?
I have a question. I don't know if I'm supposed to be here.
Yes, it's
Um,
open to the public. You are part of the public.
You know who I am.
Yes.
I'm the next one to go into the Royal. And I have been waiting and waiting.
I want to be very clear, because I don't want there to be any mistakes.
I know the percentage.
That's correct. You are the next person on the list at a particular
Right.
level, and we do not currently have any apartments available at that
Right.
level.
But I just heard you say you can't get anybody in at the 60%. Are they any different than the other apartments?
It's not about the apartments. It's about the structure, the cost structure of the building. It's about the budget structure that was put in place when the building was built, and what we need to maintain the building. We
Okay.
must collect a certain amount of rent in order to maintain the building.
But if they sit empty for a long time, isn't that counterproductive?
This is the reason why we opened the waiting
This is why
list.
we open the list up and spread the net wider, looking for
So
residents.
I know specifically, I know you as well. So you, and the income tiers that you currently stand, it's a different percentage than the ones that we have available. The ones we have available is a higher tier, so it's a higher percentage in income and it's a higher rent.
So here's my problem. If I say, okay, I have an empty apartment and I'm not collecting any rent on that apartment, the calculations that we have to do is how many months can I afford to not have anybody in there versus bringing somebody in at a lower tier, and once that person is in, they are there and I can't change that.
Right.
So if I have a 60% apartment and I bring somebody in at a 25% level, that 25% rent for that apartment
Stays.
persists forever,
Right.
as long as that tenant is available.
One question that no one seems to be able to answer for me is how many of the lower percentage apartments are there?
You've asked me this before, and you would think I would know the answer off the top of my head, and I don't.
They divide it equally. There are 55 units in the property and they divide literally equal in
So
the
how many would that
percentage.
make?
I don't know the answer to that one.
Well, 55.
Well, how many are there altogether?
There's
55 units.
55, so divided by 3,
Three?
yeah.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, about 18
18.
at each tier.
Okay. What was my other?
Now, as you can well expect,
Huh?
I'm sorry?
Didn't you just have an opening?
We have had an opening at the 60% tier. What we're looking for are openings at the 25% or 30% tier.
There are no.
30, 50, 60. The 30% tier has the longest waiting list and has the most applicants for that particular tier,
Right.
because it's the place where most people struggle.
Right. But that one, I'm on the list to be next.
You're the next apartment in that tier that becomes available at the Royal is yours.
Okay, now my question is, we both live at Avalon,
Yes,
which is ridiculous because they're
yes,
raising.
and they just raised the rents at
Oh my
Avalon.
God, $150 a month, I mean, it's just stupid. And Carol's at my level now, and she's at the next tier, so hers is going up another 150. And I know it's a private corporation, but isn't there anything that Darien can do to kind of squash them and say, hey, these are seniors that can't afford this money, why are you doing this?
No, unfortunately, we have no control over what the private market is,
Yeah,
other than what the market will bear.
right.
And
It's like they're
unfortunately,
kicking everybody out.
we live in an area where we have many, many more people looking for this type of housing than we have housing available.
I know. Is there anything in place to construct something else, or is anything coming up?
I wish there were. We'd look if we had an opportunity here in Darien. Now, what is happening is the big complex here at the Heights includes some lower moderate income units.
But they start at 1,500 for,
Well, what they did was they got the ability to exceed the local zoning regulation by including some apartments at lower rates. But when they look at lower rates, they're not looking at the 25 or 30%, they're looking at the 60% market.
right,
It's a
Because
set.
the law allows them to exceed local zoning regulations if they put anything in the project that meets any of the moderate income requirements. So obviously they do it at the lowest possible level they can, which is 60%.
right.
You're going to see exactly the same thing happen when David Genovese opens up his units down in the center of town. He has a certain number of
David?
units in that complex that are going to be below market rate so that he could build at the size that he's building.
But
There's
will they need like a 60% rate or?
60%.
By law, they
What
only,
do they
no-
have to put in so it'll be on that level? You
You-
said it depends on what they put in it.
But you have to understand, any of these large apartment complexes that are being built in town are being built using the requirements of state statute 830G. And 830G says you can exceed local zoning regulations, that is for density, but you can only if you include a certain X amount of, you have two choices. You can include a certain number of below market rate units, which is what Avalon did, or you can put money into the housing trust fund, which will be used for low rate housing somewhere else in town. So when we built the Royal, we took some of the money that was in the low housing trust fund to pay for the cost of the Royal, which is what allowed us to put 55 units at the Royal. We couldn't have done that if we didn't have that extra money. So, you know, and look, the fact of the matter is the developers know, and I'm not knocking the developers, they know that they can go exceed the zoning regulations if they include some below market rate units. There's a brand new unit that was just built on the post road, on the corner of the post road and Dickinson, right next door to the firehouse, the Norotan Fire Department. He has one below rate unit in that building. And because of that one below rate unit, he was allowed to put more units than that piece of property would normally have been allowed to bear.
And what is that rate?
Well, he put it in at 60%, so he gets finds a tenant. And now the burden on the developer is the developer has to advertise the unit, has to conduct a lottery, they have to, accept applications. So that's a lot of work for them to go through for one unit.
Yeah.
But if it allows him to put 3 additional units into the building and he collects the rental from those 3 additional units, that's a lot of money. Talking a lot of money.
Isn't there any land in Darien? I know there are so many people in this town like me, older senior citizens who are living on Social Security, who love Darien, who have lived here so long. Isn't there any property in Darien where you could build like a senior citizen village
There's nothing available in the
No.
town of Darien.
Wow.
Darien is land poor. We are not about I don't know what the latest number is. Todd, you might know this number. We're about 96% developed in the town of
Wow.
Darien. And the pieces of property that are not developed are in single-family residential neighborhoods. They're not in areas where it would be appropriate to build multifamily housing.
And the problem is that with seniors, like you said, with set income, only in Social Security or in a pension, you know, you guys are set to that income. Your income is not significantly changing every year. So this is the reason why we don't have as much change in the 25 and the 30% because realistically they're not moving out. While in the 60%, people are moving in and out constantly. They switch jobs, so they go live with their family members. So it's more changes happening in the 60% than happens in the 25 and the 30%. In the 50%, we have some sort of changes, but not as much either.
How many vacant units are there over there at these 60%?
At the Royal, I only have one left. I had two, but
How many levels are there?
3 floors.
No, not, there's 3 floors, but there's 3 income levels.
Okay.
30%, 50%, 60%.
Okay. Now, the one question I wanted to ask, at Avalon, we have to give 60 days notice, right, to move?
So we
My understanding, when it's affordable, you don't really necessarily have to stick to that.
well, here's the thing you have to keep in mind. With any of these developments, the objective is to keep them full,
Yeah.
okay? So if you have a waiting list,
Oh,
and
they
you've
have
got
all
somebody, a qualified waiting list, somebody ready to take that apartment, we can all be very flexible on how much notice we need to turn that apartment around.
Right.
Now, if you have a 60% apartment at the Royal, we need much more time because it takes us much longer to find a viable tenant for that apartment. Problems we run into, I have a list, I don't know what the numbers are. Don't anybody quote me, I'm making these numbers up. I got 10 people waiting on the 60% list,
Wow.
okay? Of the 10 people, I get an apartment available. Unfortunately, at the Royal, the methodology by which we get apartments available up at the top tier is unfortunately a tenant passes away or a tenant has to be moved from independent living into assisted living. So it's usually not, it's not an exciting situation.
Yeah.
Here at the Heights, there's always the possibility somebody gets married, somebody gets a promotion in their job. There's reasons for moving up and out. That's not the case at the Royal.
Yeah.
But let's say I got 10 people on the waiting list. The apartment becomes available. Of those 10 people, 5 may have just signed a lease, a 12-month lease that they can't get out of, so they're not available to come in. They put their name on the list in hopes that the timing would work out that they could come to us.
Right.
In the time from when they signed up until the time the apartment became available, their circumstances changed. In our case, many of them retired, and their retirement income no longer qualifies them at the 60% level. Now they're looking for a 50% apartment.
Yeah.
So that takes another 3 people off the list. I'm down to 2. And, I started with 10, I got 2, and I called those 2 people, and they're, for whatever other reason, they're not ready to take that new apartment right now.
Yeah.
Now I'm stuck.
Well, my other question is, since I have to give 2 months' notice, when one becomes available, I pray soon, but anyway, what is the time frame? Do they have to give notice?
I'd love
For you to rent an apartment?
Yeah, when somebody.
So once
has-
somebody is, if they, like he says specifically instructions, a person give us enough notice, which is a 60-day notice, so we have 60-day notice from the tenant for us to call you and start processing the application. Once they move out, we can have 15 to 30 days to turn the unit, depends how much work the unit needs, painting, carpet, whatever has to be done. So you technically, if we call you within the 60 in the 30-day notice from when they left, you have pretty good time to give notice to them. So you will be able to give to your landlord a 60-day notice as well.
Right.
But sometimes in cases like Joe said, a tenant passes away or it's moving to a nursing home for assisted living. So sometimes they don't give us enough notice. They give us, I'm taking them out or they passed away, so then
They moved yesterday.
Yeah, so
Nice.
We-
But
we-
how does that affect someone that's coming in there? How much time do they have?
Carol, we try to be as flexible as we
Yes.
possibly
Okay.
can. Keep in mind, the Housing Authority, Imagineers, the management company, we have a responsibility to maintain that building at its current state.
And you-
So if we look at the finances and we have a situation where we can put somebody in immediately versus waiting 2 months to put somebody in, we
It's
have to take that into account.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we have to look and say, well, wait a minute, I got a person here who's been on the waiting list a year and a half. What can we do to help that person?
Mhm.
Finally, they got to the top of the list, what can we do to get them into the apartment building?
Yeah.
We try to be as flexible as we can within certain logical limits. We just can't.
and with the apartments that we get available. But
Right. Well, as we said, Avalon could be kind about it, but sometimes it can be a pain in the neck. So, they have a waiting list like crazy for our apartments.
And they have a bottom line.
Yeah.
And they have stockholders that, if they're a publicly held company or a privately held company, they have people who are interested in that bottom line.
Yeah.
So the flexibility is much less than it would be in our case. So I wish I had better news for you, but that's the situation.
Well, I will be waiting, but I just wanted to.
I think I have offered you a few times in apartments here at the Heights, but you're more interested at the Royal.
Pardon?
I had offered you apartments here at the
Yeah,
Heights, but you
we've had apartments
Yeah,
here
I
at the
know.
Heights come
Yeah,
available,
you know
but
I'm
you
on the
want to be
I know.
in the Royal. We
you want to be at
understand
the
that.
Royal.
I
So
do not want to be.
I understand it. We're not trying to put people where they don't want to be. We
Right.
want to put people where they
Yeah,
want
I
to be.
understand, yeah, and you understand. Yeah. Well, all we
All
can
right.
do is hope and pray that somebody lives with their kids or goes to assisted living or goes to Florida.
it's just a waiting. It's just a waiting.
I know. Well, I
Now,
will.
I heard something interesting the other day from a tenant who would like to move to be closer to their children. And the town that they want to, there is an apartment available in the town that they want to move into, and it's at a price range that they can afford. But for some reason, that particular development has a restriction that you cannot move from senior housing elsewhere into senior housing there. And they put that requirement in there.
It's the dumbest thing I've
so
ever
that
heard
they-
in my life.
I'd never heard of it before either, but it's to keep seniors from jumping from place to place.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't,
Well, they want to make it
That's dumb.
available to new people, not to,
yeah.
but it's just one more qualification. And every time you think you've heard all the qualifications and we got it all figured out, something new pops up.
Jeez.
It's not easy. We would gladly, if we found a piece of property in town and thought there was some opportunity to develop more housing, we would do that. But again, we have to be responsible neighbors. I cannot, as a chairman of the Housing Authority, I can't let the Housing Authority begin negotiating for projects that I don't believe belong in the town of Darien.
Right, oh, I understand that.
I wouldn't want the Housing Authority to be the manager for the project at the Heights. I
Yeah.
understand why they did it, I understand how they did it. I couldn't back that kind of project for the Darien Housing Authority.
What about that one that, I saw it in the paper, it's a house that they're fighting against and they don't want to put seniors in there. It's in Darien somewhere.
Oh, just before
There's
you
a
go in the waiting.
I don't
Now,
know.
there's a couple of pieces of property that have been argued about up and down. in terms of what they can do and what the neighbors will allow them to do.
Yeah.
Again, this, I had no problem with what we did here.
Right.
This property was designated for this use.
Mhm.
I had no problem with what we did at the Royal. Yes, we increased the number of units, but we did it in a way that I thought was responsible. I would have a problem if we were to do, buy a single-family house on Cherry Street and try to put 8 units in there.
Mm.
Physically, could we do it? Sure. Would it make sense for the community? I don't think so. I don't think it's appropriate. I think Darien has to be substantially a single-family residential community. And you can't change that simply by spot zoning
Right.
to put developments here, 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 here. Personally, I don't think that works. But that's just because I've lived here all my life and I'm used to the tenant maintenance.
What's going in down by the liquor store that used to be this under construction there? Is there apartments going in there or just stores? Right on the
You
corner
mean
of Heights and
the Heights and Hollow Tree?
yeah.
No, well, eventually that's going to look like what's farther up where the Stop and Shop used to be. No, it's not going to look exactly the same. It's a different design, they have a different
But
architect.
will they be
But it's
apartments
going to be retail on the ground floor and apartments on the second and third floor.
and they'll be higher.
3 stories.
That train station right there.
Yeah, it'll be 3 stories.
Well, so again, so as long as you're in the waiting list and as long as you know your number in the waiting list and you continue waiting, once we get apartments available as we offer you before, the opportunity eventually will come.
Soon as we
It's
got
just gonna be a
apartment,
waiting.
we'll call you.
That's why we keep telling
I
people
know.
3 to 5 years waiting list,
We'll
so.
get you there.
Okay,
Right,
All right, moving right along.
thank you.
you're welcome.
So what else have we got? We got anything else? Anything else from the Heights? Anything else from the Royal? Anybody hearing anything? Anything rumbling out there that I ought to know?
No, we're just gonna start the service with, putting all the residents, all the seniors for the Royal, for the Heights in contact with a home in Darien,
Yeah.
so a lot of them can be,
Our former board member, Jane Matthews,
yes,
drives for them.
she drives for them, yes, she does. So it's a lot of them that they're not aware, we always encounter ourselves, residents ask them, about grocery deliveries or,
That's something we're gonna wanna look into as we head toward the spring. What other services are available that
Yep.
we can make our tenants?
yeah, I have, every new tenant who goes to the Royal, I put them in contact with Cynthia in Town Hall.
There you go.
And they help them with any energy system or any, especially for the Royal, there is a lot higher need of service.
Yeah, right.
And now he will be coming in to give them flyers, and hopefully we will schedule a meeting over at the Royal so he can introduce himself to each resident. And if you become a driver, then they will know you.
Speaking of energy assistance, rates are going up,
Oh, yeah.
double. Has anyone switched yet?
For electricity?
Yes.
Yeah.
I switched this morning. If you
They have a new service, right? Yeah.
do it,
Yeah,
So you contact Eversource and you can.
I'll send the link.
yeah.
I'll send the link to you. I did this morning. I just locked in
I didn't know.
34 months at 1480. Eversource is going up to 24.
24%.
And next year they're going to go up again. So, James Palin,
Yeah.
I'm on another board with him, and we were talking about it last night at one of our other board meetings, and he says, here's the link. He goes, I did it, they did it, I did it this morning. If you have a chance to change in
We're getting
Connecticut,
clobbered with
change.
everything. Everything's going up.
is
It's
it
out of
It's
control.
gonna double.
And I'd love to tell you that I saw an end in sight, but I don't. I don't see anything on the horizon that tells me the situation's going to get better in the short term. It just keeps getting worse.
Everything is going up.
But maybe, I'll send you the link, but
Yeah,
maybe
if you
send it
want-
out to the community as
Yeah,
well. Let
I can put
everybody
in
know.
the board in the community
You always heard that, Eversource provides other
reasons
billing and reasons to switch. Do it.
and reasons why I contact them for the
Right,
seniors
for
with
years I said,
Cynthia because they have the energy assistant program over
do it
there.
now.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
That's that.
On the plus side, Santa Claus didn't go up this year. All right, anybody got anything else? In that case, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn and move into executive session. Do I hear such a motion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you all for attending.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.